What is up, YouTube? How's everyone doing today? This is Everything is Tech here, and in this video I have my review of the Canon T3 Rebel camera. This is a DSLR camera. It's an entry level. Many people don't consider this to be professional, but you know, that's always arguable. But this is an entry level DSLR, so anyone who's coming from a point and shoot and they're kind of transitioning into, you know, DSLR and SLR cameras, this is definitely going to be one of the best cameras you can pick up, in my opinion. And in this video I'll be covering, you know, how the pictures come out. I actually have a dedicated 2 to 3 minutes for, you know, the pictures I've taken with the camera. I'll be talking about the overall design, you know, and the specs and all the good stuff about this camera. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy the video. So the next thing I really want to talk about this camera is the overall build quality and design of the camera. I know many people have to say that this camera is kind of cheaply made, it doesn't feel right in their hands, and I mean, I would like to say that whenever you go ahead and buy a camera, either it be a DSLR camera, a point and shoot camera, or even a digital camera, you should always go to a store and play around with the camera before you actually make your final decision, because I mean, different types of cameras feel good in different types of people's hands, and to me, I really like the T3. And believe it or not, you know, before I actually went ahead and bought this camera, I played around with like the Nikon D3100. I had that for a few days, and I mean, I just went ahead with the T3 because I liked the interface, I liked how it felt in my hands, and I was really comfortable taking photos with it. So I know I'm getting a little bit of off topic here, but let's go ahead and talk about more of the build quality of the camera. Here is, first of all, on the side, all your different inputs. You have the microphone input, which you can actually mount on here, and I'll get into that in a little bit later on in the video. You also have your USB input, which comes with the camera itself, and then in the end over here on the bottom, you have your mini HDMI cable, which you have to separately buy because you can't use a regular HDMI cable with this. So that kind of does suck, but I mean, the HDMI cable is only $20, so that's not that bad at all. Here's the name of the camera. Here's the switch that actually, if you hold down and you turn the lens a little bit, you can actually take out the lens and attach another lens. And over here, I have the 18 to 55 millimeter lens kit, which I think is wonderful for like any type of photo situation. I brought this to London and Paris with me, and I took some wonderful photos, which I'll have in the end of the video. Over here is the Canon brand name, and right over here where you can actually mount this is where you can actually mount an external flash or a microphone, and then over here is the internal flash, which you can just deploy just by clicking this one button over here. Over here is your button where you can actually take your photos in. If you lightly press this button, this actually begins to focus down on your subject, and when you're, you know, finalized with how the picture is about to come out, just go ahead and pop this button up a little bit more with pressure, and it takes the photo, which is fantastic. Over here is your different types of modes you can take photos in. This does take 720p video, 1280 by 720p, and 30 frames per second, which is not bad at all. But if you want to be taking video with this camera, I would recommend getting a different type of lens kit. You'd probably need like a wide angle lens kit to take videos with this, because the 18 to 55 millimeter lens kit does not cut it for video. Over here you have like different types of modes, like night mode, continuous mode, which is for like sport events and stuff like that. You have close-up, landscape, portrait, and then these are different types of options. There's also an option where you can take a photo without deploying the flash. Which is always useful if you're like in a museum and you're taking photos and you can't have the flash out. Over here is your on and off button, and on the back over here is your 3-inch panel. I think this is a 2.5 or 3-inch panel for your LCD, so this is like the interface and everything. And then this button allows you to change the exposure, and this also allows you to trash your pictures and videos. This allows you to actually begin your video recording or disable the video recording, and this button also allows you to actually put the photos that you see from the viewfinder all the way into the LCD, which is fantastic, and I'll get into all that later on in the video. Here's the different types of settings you can do, and this actually works with the interface itself. These are the different types of buttons which allow you to navigate through your photos and videos. The top button also allows you to change the ISO. Over here allows you to change the different types of settings to capture your photos, like continuous shooting, single shooting. Over here is the menu button, here is your playback button, and this is pretty much the camera itself, the features and how the camera looks and feels. So now that you know how the camera looks, feels, and all some of the features of the camera, let's go ahead and take a look at the interface of the camera. So to turn the camera on, pretty simple. Just go ahead and flick this button, turns right on, and I don't have my memory card in with the camera, but you'll probably get the feeling of what the interface of the camera is like. So this is on the mode I am right now. It is the programmable, so you can like customize the shutter speed, the exposure, and everything like that. So To change the ISO, all you have to do while you're in this interface is just click on this button, and you can choose from between auto to 6400, and 6400 is the maximum, which you actually have to enable in the menu option. That's cool. You can also change the exposure rate, and this is where this button comes handy. If you click on the exposure, which is this, if you actually hold onto this button, you can change the exposure by just moving this wheel. So if you go ahead and I move the wheel, and it goes up and down, so that's always cool. So now let's go ahead and take a really quick look at the menu. To access the menu, you just click the menu button, and here's where you can really pretty much change pretty much every aspect of the camera. You can change what you're recording, and there's just many options in the camera. Like, you know, you can change the quality, and you can actually go with RAW and JPEG. For those who don't know what RAW is like a higher bit picture. It's like better quality than JPEG, and you can be more lenient when you capture in RAW because it's easier to edit it with, you know, RAW files. So, you know, you can choose pretty much anything you want. I usually go with RAW and JPEG, so I have a copy of the Big Boy or the Big Daddy picture, and then I also have a JPEG, so if I want to send the images to like a relative, I can do that with the JPEG. And then you can just customize, you know, how fast or how quickly the images are viewed when you take your picture. You can control the flash, you can have a red eye reduction, you can change the exposure, lighting, white balance, black and white photos, ISO, the maximum you can change, and there's just many things you can do in the menu of the camera. Overall, with the interface, I really like the interface on the T3. Really, it is easy to use, really fantastic, and I think the interface really helps, you know, beginner level DSLR users to actually, you know, get used to the overall feel of using a DSLR. Next thing is the battery life on the camera. I really like the battery life on the camera. Usually it takes me about 3 hours to charge the camera from 0% to 100%, and it lasts, you know, when I'm done charging the camera, it lasts maybe about 3 to 4 to even 6 hours of fully charged battery life, which is not bad at all, and that's fantastic actually if you ask me. And overall, the battery life, I think you can't go wrong with the battery life on this camera. Now, the last thing I really want to talk about with this camera is the pricing, and is the camera worth the money? This cost us about $600, which is not bad at all for an entry-level DSLR. I know, you know, there is many comparisons with this versus the D3100, and I mean, I have used the D3100. It's a great camera. I have nothing against it, but I chose the T3 over the D3100. Even though, you know, the D3100, Nikon D3100 has some better specs than the camera, I like the T3 a lot better because of, you know, just the overall grip and how it feels, and just the interface. I really like the Canon T3 interface, and that is what really got me into buying the T3 and staying with the T3 rather than with the D3100. But I have nothing against the D3100. I think that's a great camera too, but this is the review of the T3. So with this camera, I think it's really worth the money. It's a really great entry-level DSLR, and for anyone, you know, I definitely recommend this camera if you're just trying to get into the hobby of photography. It's not that much money, and remember, you know, with a DSLR camera, you can always switch out the lens, so even if you get not so decent lens, but, you know, the 18 to 55 is awesome lens kit. If you don't get, you know, the lens kit of your choice, you can always go ahead and buy another lens kit. But I would definitely recommend keeping an 18 to 55 because it's always good for many photo situations. So overall, this is a great camera. I would always prefer it to a friend, family member, or anyone on YouTube who wants to get into photography. So thanks for watching my review. And now I'm gonna have all the picture slideshow with the, you know, with the pictures I've taken with the camera. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. Definitely hit the subscribe button, it really helps me out. And thanks for watching my videos, and like the video if you enjoyed it. So thanks for watching, and peace out, and I hope you enjoyed the photo slideshow.